What's up guys, this is Balázs from Racing Brick. Today is a big day, we just received a major update for the Powered Up app. If you remember, last year it was introduced with very limited controls for the Batmobile and the trains. Features were added gradually and now we are at version 3.0. Now let's see the promises of this early Christmas present. The biggest change is the multi-hub support. Now it is possible to connect and control multiple hubs simultaneously. In the previous versions you needed to disconnect from the first hub to connect to the second hub. The second big change is the support for the Technic hub, which seems to be officially called Technic Medium Hub, and the L and XL motors called Technic Large Linear Motor and Technic XL Linear Motor. There are also some cosmetic changes, so let's launch the new version on the iPad and the previous version on the phone to compare them. If you are in a hurry and you would like to see a quick summary about the update and my findings, then click the link above to open the blog post I made about it. So, as you can see, the main interface changed quite a lot. The new version has a simplified flat design. We can scroll through the profiles with the slider, but if you open them, they behave pretty much the same way. To access the free play area, we needed to tap on the arrow on the right side of the screen in the previous version. Now there's a create button for the same purpose in the top right corner. Fortunately, our previous creations are still there after the update, so there's no need to worry, only the interface changed. Previously, if we wanted to add a new program, then there was a single screen to give a name to the creation, select the complexity, and select a control interface if needed. Now, this whole process is split into multiple stages with, again, a simplified visual interface. Unfortunately, there are no new control interfaces yet. We still have the same two with the two sliders and the joystick button combination. If we select the coding option in the new app, then we get the same boost style canvas as previously. Connecting a single hub works similarly, although the button and the connection design changed, and also how the connected hub is listed. The biggest new feature is the ability to connect to multiple hubs simultaneously. If you turn on a second hub, then it appears on the connection list in white. If we tap on it, then it turns to orange during the connection, and then to green when it is connected. In the previous version we could also see if another hub was turned on, but there was no any option to connect to it until the actual hub was disconnected. As you can see now, it is possible to connect to 4 hubs at the same time, and they can be all similar or different types, does not matter. The app works with the Boost hub, the AAA hub and the Technic hub as well. To disconnect the hub, simply slide the bar to the left and tap on the red X. All hubs have a number assigned that is used for identification during programming. Here they can be easily rearranged. The name can be also edited and the app will remember that name at the next connection as well. The hubs can be easily identified by pressing the green button. Their name will flash on the screen. If you create a simple program without any further settings, then the hub that is at the top of the list will be the active one, and the program will control that one. This is the new code block that identifies the hub to be used with its number from the connection list. There are 4 options, as we can have maximum 4 hubs connected. I selected number 2 and this is the Batmobile now. Here I added 3 other blocks to control one motor from each hub. It also works without any problem. Another new feature is the ability to use the orientation of the smart device as an input for control. If we add these blocks to the canvas without any assignment, then you can see the data in real time. It's funny, but the 0 position is not when the device lays on the table, but it has to be tilted for that. Maybe the app records the position when it turns on and that becomes 0. Controlling a car with this method sort of works, although the steering control seems to be rather slow. Another impressive new feature is the ability to use multiple sensors in the same program, both external and internal ones, even connected to different hubs. Here's an example when there are 2 hubs connected to the app. One's position data is used to control the motors connected to the other hub. So the new features we've seen so far are pretty nice, but they mostly work in the programming environment, so it seems to be more like an extension of Boost with support of the different hubs. Let's see if the update brings something useful to control custom creations equipped with powered up components. As I showed you previously, there are no new control interfaces, and unfortunately the car controller with the joystick and the buttons still looks super funny on the iPad. Since the large and the XL linear motor are supposed to be fully supported in this release, I wanted to test it, especially the steering part, since that one had issues in the previous version. The default layout for this joystick controller is still very weird and has no real use with a standard motor setup. I had to set up my own blocks for this. Forward-backward control works fine and it is responsive enough, but the steering is still very problematic. I could not find a working block with absolute positioning control. That means the zero position of the motor is still the position where it was turned on. Steering is still very choppy, it is nowhere near as smooth as the steering in the Control Plus app. I did the same test with the two-slider interface and the result is unfortunately the same. The steering is pretty much useless. That's a huge problem since it means we are still unable to create a totally basic controller for a car. There are also other small annoyances and inconsistencies in the app that are very difficult to explain. If we select output A and output B separately, both of them works, but if I select A and B together, they don't work. After a few tests I figured out that it only works if the motors are the same type, but come on, why? The biggest problem is still the lack of documentation. There are no any tooltips or anything and there are tons of blocks, really lots of them. This is the only help we get and this is absolutely nothing. There are a lot of blocks that are very difficult to guess what they do. For example, here are these sensor inputs. This one should be the orientation sensor, but it does not show anything. The other one is maybe the acceleration, but why it is not zero when the hub does not move. Then you figure out that you don't need the information from port A, but from the internal sensor, which is this icon. And then it shows the data correctly, but why do we even have external orientation data implemented if there's no external orientation sensor available? Or these two can only have external ports selected, so it has to be some sort of external sensor, but I don't know anything similar available. And what does this thing do? Seems to work with the Boost hub, but I have no clue about it. And then these two blocks I thought both supposed to control the degree of rotation for the L and XL motors, but the dark green one does nothing, the light green one works, but why? What is the difference between them? And if this is the one that's supposed to control steering, then why it is so laggy? The app does not disconnect easily from the hubs, which is usually a good thing, but if we forget to disconnect them manually, then it can stay connected and draining the batteries for a long time. If you simply turn off the screen, then the app is still running in the background and the hubs stay connected and turned on. We need to either disconnect them manually or kill the app completely. It would be great to have a simple exit button and a timeout setting for the connection. Don't get me wrong, I like the diverse features, but it still looks like a second Boost application. There are a lot of folks who simply want to create some RC stuff with powered up and control it, and don't want to see program blocks at all. I can bring you Brick Controller 2 as an example. Nice and clean interface, and it can even control your microwave oven. You simply connect to the hub, then select which controller you want to assign to which port of which device. You can change the port type if needed, run the built-in auto calibration for the powered up servo, and there you go, and it's up and running. This one only works with a game controller, but I could show you the Movies app where you can also add custom control elements and assign ports to them in a similar way. LEGO really should create something customizable but also simple and straightforward to offer between the fancy but closed Control Plus and the super complicated Boost apps. On top of everything, the lack of documentation makes the whole experience super frustrating. I really hope this will be the first to be addressed in the next update. Please share your thoughts in the comments and let me know if you find anything useful in the new application. If you liked the video, then please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and don't forget to tap on the notification bell. See you next time, bye bye.